This particular cool down is particularly useful if you've been working out the upper body. So I just finished doing things like pull-ups, push-ups, a couple of things with weights, and my upper body is a little exhausted and needs a little bit of attention and love. So that's what we're going to focus on today. I recommend you grab a strap. If you don't have access to a strap, any length of fabric will do. A t-shirt, anything that you can get your hands on is absolutely fine. And if you happen to have it, a yoga block, in place of a block, something soft. So sometimes I'll recommend like a stack of books, something like that. In this case, you want something with a little bit more give, so a nice thick pillow, something like that might work as well. In a moment, we're going to set that block to the side, and we're going to start with our strap. So to begin with, take your strap between your hands, taking your arms wider than shoulder width, pretty wide. In fact, I'm going to go even wider than this. We're going to start off just by kind of loosening the shoulders up a little bit. So you're going to reach up and over. Notice my hands are having to slide out further to be able to take my arms behind me. So we want to go as wide as we need to go to not have to shift and adjust through our shoulders as we take our arms forward and back. What I mean by shift and adjust is we don't want any of this stuff going on to try to get the arms behind you. You want to keep everything nice and even, just up, over, behind, and then back around to the front. After a round or two, you might be able to walk those hands in a little bit closer as things start to loosen up. And if you find a spot where it feels good to linger for a second or two, feel free. And you might have to keep playing with the adjustment of your hands on that strap. Just one more nice big one. I'm going to stop right here because I've got a little tight spot right there. Like I said, feel free to linger any place where it feels good to do so. Nice. Next, we're going to take the strap in your right hand. You're going to reach your right hand overhead. You're going to take your left hand and reach pretty high up that strap, as high as you can comfortably reach. And then you're going to pull down. So what we're doing here is we're drawing that left hand down, which pulls the right hand further down the back. It's allowing us to stretch right here through that tricep. And now notice where your body is. Play a little. Maybe lean a little to one side, lean a little to the other, until you find a place where it feels good. That bottom hand can even pull away from the body a little bit. I'm pulling mine out and back a little to get a deeper stretch. And then we're just going to change which direction we're pulling. So now I'm pulling up with the right hand, which is drawing the left arm up my back. I'll turn around in a second and show you what that looks like. But that's getting into this area right here. The other side looks like this. And we're going to change sides with that. Take the strap in your left hand, reach the left hand overhead, dropping that strap back behind you. Right hand's going to reach up, grab on, and pull down. So now getting into the front of the left tricep. After we exercise, we like to hold these stretches. So you can hold it for up to 30 seconds. Which tip, if you don't feel like keeping your timer nearby, 5 to 10 slow breaths is usually around 30 seconds. Moving up into a minute. And I actually like having people focus on the breathing rather than on counting to 30. Because as we take those nice, deep, controlled breaths, we get our muscles to start to calm down. And depending upon what you've just been doing, you might need to get your breath a little bit more under control. So if you were running or doing anything that had a cardio component, or even anything that was just very intense, sometimes our breath gets a little ragged. So focusing on breathing as we stretch is a really nice way to calm that down. And we start to be able to bring in some cooling effect to our cardiovascular system, to our respiratory system, as well as into our musculature. Now I've done that, shake that out a little bit. Next, we're going to move into what's called puppy pose. We're going to take 3 different variations of puppy pose. Puppy pose is a fantastic one for getting all through your shoulder joint and to the lat muscles down onto your back, all that good stuff. So you come up onto your knees. You're going to reach your arms forward and then take them pretty wide. And you're going to spread your fingers out wide, make a nice solid connection with your hands. And I've gone far enough forward to be almost all the way onto my knees and still have my arms reaching a little bit forward. And then I'm going to start to press my hips back towards my heels. So unlike a child's pose where we would just rest our forehead onto the mat, think about trying to draw your chest towards the mat and even the underneath side of your chin. So you're getting a little bit more length and stretch here.
After a few breaths here, you're going to begin to round your back, taking more like the top of your forehead onto the mat, so everything starts to draw up. You'll feel this more in the center of your back and even into the fronts of the underarms. And the last variation, we're going to again drop that down, still trying to pull back into the shoulder joint, but then starting to take that chin back down to the mat, getting a little deeper. And release that, let your arms relax a little, shake them out a little bit. We're going to move into open wing. So for open wing, you're going to be laying on your stomach, just so you can see where I'm about to go here. You're going to take your right arm, you're going to reach it out long. We're going to do two different variations. First, we're going to have a nice straight arm, but you want a 90-degree angle between that arm and your torso. And then you're going to roll onto your right side. So this right shoulder is going to stay pressing into your mat. The idea is that we're stretching through the front of the shoulder into the pectoral muscle here. So it's essentially doing this action, but we're going to be using gravity to help us get a little bit deeper. So you come down onto your stomach, reach that right arm out long, and roll onto your right side. Your left leg goes wherever it needs to get out of the way. I like to swing mine behind me. Some people prefer to plant it in front of them. For me, that feels awkward, but everyone's a little different. And your left hand can either press in front of you or reach behind you. Head can relax towards the mat. Just taking a few breaths like that. And then you'll just change sides. You can roll onto your stomach. Reach that left arm out, nice and straight. Again, 90-degree angle between the arm and the side of your body. Roll onto the left side and letting your head relax. You've got really loose shoulders. You might be able to bend both legs and start to plant your feet on the mat. But you only go as far as you need to go to feel the stretch. And coming back onto your stomach, you're going to take a slightly different variation. So your arm is still going to reach out to the side, but then you're going to bend your arm. So taking almost like this cactus shape of the arm here. So for some of us, if you're really, really tight, you're not going to go very far in this at all. When I first started doing this with the bent arm, I would feel an impingement in my elbow. All that means is a pain in the elbow. It didn't feel like it was anything that was good or beneficial. It actually felt pretty bad. So I realized I could just barely go. So my left shoulder only came maybe 2 inches off the mat. Now I've gotten to a place where I've loosened all of this up considerably and undone a lot of years of damage that had built up in that shoulder, and I can go pretty far. But if you don't go very far, know that that's absolutely okay. You only go as far as you need to go. So taking that right angle of the arm, again, shoulder presses towards the mat, we start to roll on our side. So I still can't go anywhere near as far with the bent elbow as I can with the straight arm, but I feel it in a very different place. It's definitely very beneficial. And holding each of these poses for about 5 breaths, a little longer if you find something that feels really good for you. And then when you're complete, you just change sides, bending that left arm, coming onto the left side. And release, coming back onto your stomach. Now we're going to take the inverse of those poses. So those poses are sometimes in yoga called open wings. It's big open wing of your arms. We're going to take the opposite, which is sometimes called broken wing. So again, I'm going to demonstrate sitting up just because it's hard to see what's happening sometimes when everything is prone. So you're going to again be on your stomach.
You're going to take your arms and you're going to stack them. So forearm on top of forearm to begin with. And about at this placement, so pretty much directly underneath your shoulders. From here, you're going to start to walk your hands further apart. This may be as far as you go. You may come elbow to elbow. Your elbows may pass each other. Either way, your palms are going to be face down on your mat. Now the deal here is what we don't want to have happen is we don't want one elbow really out of whack with the other. We're trying to keep the arms even in front of the body. You're going to feel this across the backs of your shoulders. I'm going to give you some cues in just a moment to help you get a little bit deeper into it. And again, so we come down to the stomach. You're going to stack those arms one in front of the other and then start to walk them across. Again, trying to keep them even. You go as far as you can. Ladies, you might have to do a little bit of adjusting to settle into this pose. Palms are face down. You're going to curl your toes under. Give yourself a little nudge forward. And now let your forehead start to drop forward. This pose is a little difficult to breathe in. You do the best you can. And you should feel this right across the backs of your shoulders. So, for a lot of us, that pose becomes really uncomfortable, especially, as I mentioned, for the ladies around here. So to do that, if you're finding that to be a little difficult, you can take this pose with a block or with a pillow, and you do this on your knees. You're still going to get the exact same pose. You're just giving yourself a little bit more room to work with. So instead, from here, your forehead will come to that block instead of towards the floor. Again, arms crisscross and walk through. And you just allow your forehead to come here. If you want a little bit more, you come up higher on the toes. A little less, you sink back. And after a few breaths in whichever iteration you chose, you just change which arm is on top. So you just swap the arms, walk them across. And allow yourself to start to rest into the pose. Again, if you're on your knees, you can come up a little onto toes to get more intensity. If you're on your belly, you would instead push forward with those toes to get a little deeper into the backs of the shoulders. Again, holding that for 5 to 10 breaths, getting into the backs of those shoulders there. All right, our last posture is going to be our most restorative, most relaxing pose. This is the one where we definitely want to have a block or a pillow, anything you can find. We're going to take what is called a supported fish. So for supported fish, there's a few different ways that you can set this up. I'm going to show you what the pose looks like first, and then give you a couple of variations if the way I like to set it up doesn't work in your body. So I tend to take the block, and I put it right between my shoulder blades. So I'm kind of right between the shoulder blades there. I have a very open back, so I actually usually put this on its highest height, which I don't necessarily recommend if you haven't done this pose a lot. But you would put that block right between your shoulder blades, start to lean back, and let yourself open up over the block, getting some space and openness here. So that's a very intense version of it. You can also do this with the block on that middle level, or that flat level here. Again, laying back across the block, letting it come about between your shoulder blades. Arms can come out wide. Feet can either be straight if that's too intense. Bend your feet coming into reclined butterfly, and letting your head rest back. And again, for some people, that is still a little intense, in which case you turn the block. One more iteration. So now it's going horizontal across your back, and it goes just below the shoulder blades. So again, let yourself lay back, arms wide, head back and relaxed, feet either long, or you can bring the soles of your feet to touch, see which feels better. And as you're in your posture, begin with the arms wide, but you can work them up a little higher, all the way up to being overhead. And in each iteration, you're going to hit slightly different fibers through your shoulder area. Beauty of this pose is it opens up not only the shoulders, it gets into the chest, and it gets into the throat and the neck. One more little option, if you do decide to take this posture in that highest pose that I demonstrated, where you're on the highest height of the block, or the middle height of the block, your head is usually going to hang back, and sometimes that feels a little too unmoored. So you want a little support there. I like that feeling of having everything really open and letting my head hang back over the block. If you find that too much, just put an extra pillow there, give yourself a little support. And then stay in this pose as long as you need, giving yourself 10 breaths, even longer if you need it, treating it almost like a Shavasana, and just allowing your body to recover from all of the work that you might have already put it through. Thank you so much.